Well, good day and welcome to episode 8 of The Driving Force presented by the Louisiana Transportation Research Center. My name is Todd Blunt and I'm joined today by my friend, colleague, and co-host Garrett Wheat.
Good afternoon.
We are thrilled that you've chosen to join us on this journey as we highlight the people and projects that are driving change in Louisiana transportation. For the past 39 years, LTRC has merged the resources of state government and Louisiana universities to identify, develop, and implement new technology to enhance our state's transportation system and beyond. A key responsibility in LTRC's technology transfer and training section is to ensure that the resources provided through outreach, workforce development, and many other efforts benefit the state's transportation workforce. Recently, we partnered with hundreds of other transportation officials throughout Louisiana DOTD, state universities, industry partners, and more to host the biennial Louisiana Transportation Conference. This is one of our largest and most significant tech transfer initiatives of the year. We welcomed over 1,500 attendees from across the state, as well as 29 other states and the District of Columbia, to Baton Rouge's River Center for 3 days of professional development and personal networking. So to help us recap what happened at LTC and why it matters for the ongoing development of Louisiana's transportation system, we are delighted to welcome Mark Chenevert as our special guest today. Mark serves as DOTD's Contract Services Administrator and a valued member of the LTC Program Committee. We'll take a short break before we welcome Mark and reflect on a great week at LTC 25. Welcome back to The Driving Force. As we said before the break, today we are welcoming Mark Chenevert to the podcast to look back on the 2025 Louisiana Transportation Conference. Mark was an integral part of preparing this year's program, and we're thrilled to have him with us for this conversation. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
So, Mark, how many transportation conferences have you been a part of over the years, and how have you seen the event change and grow from your start with the department until now?
Thank you for asking. I've been in attendance of all of the transportation conferences since I started working November 2000 at the department. I haven't kept track of how many that is. I know there was maybe a chunk of time in there with COVID where things got off our normal schedule, but I've always looked forward to it. It's always been a great networking opportunity. And how I've seen it change, and I'm very much glad of this, what I recall when I first started attending, we had sessions that were an hour and a half long, and those were brutal. For those of y'all who don't know me, I'm 6'5". I don't sit well in a chair for an extended period of time without getting around, able to move around. And so the shorter sessions, I think it encourages the speakers to get to the point, let people know who they are if they want to follow up and get more information. Mm-hmm. And my preference would be to see the sessions even shorter. The sessions were 50 minutes. I'd prefer to see 30-minute and 15-minute sessions just so people can get quickly to the point. The ones that are the swamp tank, where it's somebody gets up, they have a couple minutes, they do their thing. Anybody who's interested now knows that's what's going on. That's the person I can reach out if I want more information. Where no one feels like they have to stretch it to fill time. Mm-hmm. And so the earlier days, it seemed like a lot of the speakers, it seemed like they were having to stretch to fill time.
You alluded to it a little bit, but what are some of the benefits of attending the conference, and how do you see it contributing to DOTD's overall mission?
So if you ask a group of people what our mission is, everybody has an idea of what we do. Mm-hmm. We do transportation-related stuff. But collectively, everybody has a role. A lot of people that we work with have specialties. And so you need a thing done, and you need the thing done by people. And so sometimes the only chance I get to meet somebody and put a face to a name is this event. Pulls people in from all over the state, and so I look forward to that part of it.
What are some benefits of the conference that you've seen?
For me, it's mostly networking. As I mentioned before that we started recording, when I first started working in the department, it was kind of overwhelming. It was kind of like going to LSU. LSU's 30,000 plus students. There at the conference, it's 1,500 people, and when my first time I went, I only knew a handful of people. And so each time I've gone to a conference, I've known more people, and so I felt more comfortable. Right. If we didn't have the conference at all, I would know probably a lot fewer people within the department. And so for me, that's what I look forward to the most or enjoy the most is the networking side of it.
Awesome.
Well, Mark, a lot happens in the 3 days when the conference is held. So can you give our listeners just kind of a snapshot of the breadth of topics covered throughout the conference, from the general session to all of the breakouts. Obviously, just some highlights. But what are the kind of things that our attendees are able to take in during their time at the conference?
What I find the most heavily attended sessions seem to be the ones where it's projects that are high-profile projects, and people want to know what's going on with that project and what's to come, what's to be expected, and those always seem to draw a lot of interest. I wanted to attend the district administrator session, but when I opened the door, it was full. People will stand in room only. I couldn't even get in the room, and so I wanted to see what are the districts experiencing, what are their issues, what are their challenges, and I don't always get a chance to hear that. The districts, their staff, their time is under a lot of strain. So when they have a meeting, they don't necessarily have the opportunity to bring in a lot of outsiders in who are just interested and curious. So I missed out on that, and I imagine a lot of other people did too. To the extent that we get the chance to hear what's going on for others, I'm of the opinion that if it's just stating facts on the slide, I can read that. Somebody can email that to me. But I like to hear the gaps between the slides, the story behind what's going on. And so that's another thing I look forward to besides networking is getting to hear the behind the scenes of what's happening.
Todd had mentioned this kind of in your intro, but you actually helped us on the program committee to make sure topics were kind of gathered across the department and organized appropriately. You mentioned like the behind the scenes of a project, but can you allude to a little bit of the behind the scenes of building a program?
So kudos to you and the others that you were working with. Y'all do a great job of not just having it be a last minute throw together thing. Y'all started planning way in advance. We were up against having bowlers in the same facility, so y'all had to change the meeting space. Thankfully, we had some sessions in the theater, and it didn't rain getting people from the building to the theater. It wasn't cold, wasn't rainy. We were fortunate, and so y'all worked it out. And y'all even got where you could have space for the people to do their expo booths. I didn't know going into it if that was going to work out or not. And y'all figured out how to do that. So there is a lot of planning. There's pretty much all of the different sections within the department are represented in your planning sessions. And y'all do a real good job of starting high level. What are some things that are going on that people need to know about, people are going to want to hear about? And then as we go month by month closer to the conference, y'all help narrow that down to specific sessions, specific topics. Y'all do a great job of that. I didn't have a session at this one. I did have a chance to participate in helping to compile and be part of the Transportation Awards selection process. And so I liked feeling like I had a hand in the part of the success of the conference. And I feel like a lot of the people presenting, a lot of engineers is kind of out of their comfort zone to get up in front of a group and give a speech. But my experience has been that a lot of people get a lot out of that because they get a chance to share what they know, and people get a chance to hear that. And so they get to be seen as the expert of whatever their thing is.
It's typically easier to share and talk about something you know really well, too.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've noticed in working with our researchers here, and I don't think it's unique to LTRC, is whenever I get in a conversation with one of our guys or one of our girls, and they get to really kind of riff on sort of where they spend their day-to-day, kind of down deep in the details, that's really exciting because someone's, I guess, showing that they're adding value to others, in the state and beyond.
Well, I kind of asked that question because since you had a little bit of behind the scenes of knowing what to expect and what sessions were coming, I guess, were there any highlights that stood out to you or anything that might have been surprising or enjoyable?
I very much enjoyed hearing our leadership address the questions that were asked at the Secretary's Roundtable. And I felt like they gave us very candid answers to the questions.
Mark, any other, from this conference or from previous conferences, obviously you've been doing this for a little while now, favorite aspects of the conference personally, things that you enjoy most? I'm going to tell our listeners a little bit about why you look forward to this and why you'll look forward to the next one in a couple of years.
Seeing friends.
Yeah.
seeing friends. I'm the type, if I have a question, I'll email somebody or call them. But a lot of people that I work with don't seem to be as comfortable to do that.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for them not to get out of their comfort zone and pick up the phone or send an email to somebody they may or may not know, where they can go and see and then decide if they want to ask more questions. But that's my favorite part of it, is getting a chance to see friends I hadn't seen in a while.
And in some cases, it's probably even putting a face to a name of someone they have emailed before.
That happens pretty much every time.
Yeah.
I'm relatively new at the department. That's one thing I enjoy. This is my first conference. I'm kind of coming at it from the other end, but names that I see on reports, names that I see coming across in emails, and being able to put faces and names together and meet people in person, that was really valuable. Mark, you've been around the block a few times. You've seen a lot of these conferences. Is there anything you'd like to see us do differently?
Well, thank you for asking. This past conference, we had sessions that were 50 minutes long, and I very much appreciate that compared to the hour and a half. If anything, I would like to see the sessions even shorter. Yeah. What I've seen, my experience with the swamp takes and the round tables, they seem to be faster paced. There seems to be where no one is trying to stretch the time to fill a time slot. And so those I've enjoyed much more, just for that reason, that they're more either interactive, or there's where the presenter is getting the information out, saying, here's how you can get in touch with me if you want more information, because I got to get out of the way for the next person. And so I like it faster paced, and the 50-minute sessions does that more than an hour and a half sessions. If it has to be longer than that, I understand as far as the logistics to get the PDHs, but to the extent that we can have faster paced, more people getting a chance to say, here's who I am, here's what I'm doing, here's the impact of that. If you have questions or want to get more information, here's how you get in touch with me. That would be what I would like to see more of, if anything.
I mean, and you've even heard that with me on the program committee, where we've had people say, I have some things I'd like to share, but I can't fill a full hour. So having some quick bites would be nice.
Well, and I think interactivity between multiple presenters is often really engaging too, because you can sort of play off of each other, and that, it creates a more engaging environment oftentimes.
Any other things you might want to see change?
I thought the transportation was great. I was concerned how the shuttles were going to work, but I didn't have to wait long. No, I was fortunate that it didn't rain. Where they dropped us off, there was a little bit of walkout in the elements where if it was raining, it could have been problematic, but not long waits from the headquarters to get here. And so that worked out good.
Well, thank you so much, Mark, for joining us today and giving our listeners a snapshot of many of the great things that happened at LTC 25. Before we go, we'd like to have a little bit of fun with you. Garrett's prepared a few final lightning round questions, so don't think too hard about these. This is just help people get to know you a little bit better.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, so I've known you for a while now, and we've talked a lot about professional development and books and tidbits here and there. So I'll leave this more as an open-ended question rather than a pointed one, but can you share maybe either some of your favorite books, some of your favorite authors, or just like some nuggets of information that you've taken that you'd like to share?
I love this question because I love to read, but so I have books all over my house. In my office, I have a bunch of books, but I've gotten to where I read less and watch YouTube videos more, because I can get more information in 15 minutes watching somebody say their thing than reading for 2 hours reading their book. I've been drawn for a long time, for decades. I used to go to the Goodwood Library, and I wouldn't look for a certain title or a certain author. I'd go in the business section. I've always been drawn to sales and business and management, because I've always been interested in what makes a leader a leader. Right. I really like the way John Maxwell talks about it. He says, if you have influence, you're a leader, regardless of your title. And if you don't have influence, you're not a leader, no matter what you want to think you are. And so books like from Tom Peters, Seth Godin, Robert Lencioni, Alex Hormozy, Zig Ziglar. So anybody who can share a different perspective that helps me see a different way of thinking, a different way of being, where it can help me potentially have more impact. I was a teacher for 4 years. I taught 7th and 8th graders, and I coached high school volleyball. And I did it because I wanted to have an impact after I'm dead and gone. And I hope that I will have some legacy, because a big part of what I enjoy most about working in the department is not asphalt and concrete, but the people. You know, asphalt and concrete is going to get done whether I'm there or not. My hope is that by me being there, the people I work with are able to do better work and have a better experience. And so
Awesome.
when I whether it's books or whatever medium, I love watching and exposing myself to different information that helps me be a better leader.
Love it.
That's good.
All right, exciting question. Who would be on your short list of people from history you would love to have dinner with, and where would you take them to eat?
Jesus Christ, bring him to Mansur's for the crab cakes. I'd ask him if he could do better than this, and if so, let's have some.
He was locked and loaded on that
I
one.
love it. Any other people?
I'd want to ask him, how do you know the gold was in the fish? I want to ask him all kind of stuff.
Are we catching the wrong fish? All right, last question.
Any other people?
Yeah, well, if you had
Anybody I can learn from.
Sure. All right, and then last question. In the world of health and fitness, what tips would you share with someone who may want to start their own journey?
Fantastic. So what I've heard in the military, the most important thing if you're in the military and war is to know where you are. Because if you don't know where you are and you need air support or you need to be evacuated out, they can't find you. They can't help you. So same thing with your own fitness. Helps to know where you are. If you're overweight, it's good to admit that. If your heart's in bad shape, it's good to admit that, and at least know where you're starting from. I've known people who've exercised and they got kind of disappointed because their weight didn't change, but maybe their body fat percentage was changing because they were changing fat to muscle.
Sure.
So I would encourage people to take a look at what do they enjoy doing for fun, not to set goals to see what they can look like when they go to the beach in a month or in a couple of months, but what can people do that they will enjoy till they're dead? You know, with the idea, I love the saying, treat your body like a temple, not a woodshed. A lot of people I know just shovel potato chips in and sit on the couch like the body's a woodshed. And so if it's the place you have to live till you're dead, you might as well treat it right? So I personally hate to run. I was in the Marine Corps. And when we would go on formation runs, they would mess with us. They'd do mind games. We'd go out and run and come back towards the base and pass the base up. Well, mentally, when they're coming back to the base, I'm thinking, we're almost finished. I ran cross country in high school, so at one point in my life, I ran. But the Marines ran all desire to run out of me. And plus, the people I've known who've run for long periods of time, in general, their knees and ankles and hips are torn up, although just repetitive pounding. So for me, I personally like lifting weights. It's not heavy impact. I'm not trying to do all-out maxes with weight that's going to potentially tear muscle off the bone. But I just like the feeling of the setting a goal of, can I get another repetition, or can I do a little bit more weight? And so the challenge of, can I see improvement that's measurable while what I'm doing? My whole life I've enjoyed that. And I have the house that my wife and I live in that we had built. One of our bedrooms has a 10-foot ceiling, so I could put a power rack in there tall enough that I could put a pull-up bar without hitting my head on the ceiling. And so the timing of it was awesome, because we moved into that house January of 2020.
Oh, wow.
Right before all the gyms closed. So I was still able to exercise in one of the bedrooms at my house.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Well, thanks again, Mark, for being here with us on this episode. We had a great time talking with you. Hope you'll join us again sometime as we continue this exciting project. We'll take a quick break before we wrap things up for today. Well, that's all we have for you on episode 8 of The Driving Force, presented by the Louisiana Transportation Research Center. You can learn more about what's happening at LTRC on a daily basis by visiting us online at ltrc.lsu.edu or on social media through Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We want you to like, follow, subscribe to our channels on each of these platforms so you can stay up to date on what's going on. Looking ahead to our next episode, we are going to discover how LTRC is resourcing K-12 teachers in classrooms across Louisiana. Rebecca Rizzuto, our wonderful external training program director, will be here to tell us all about it. Until then, we are your hosts, Garrett Wheat and Todd Blunt, and we thank you so much again for joining us today. Drive safely out there.